and I expect you to slaughter them like that.
How do I feel now that the entire process is complete? Well, undoubtedly, I am elated that we've got to this point because it's been a long ride. It's been a really long ride. 3 years of my life and those associated with the picture itself. Because, if I'm to be honest, I've had some of the greatest times of my life while making this film, and then on the other spectrum, I've had some really terrible days making this film. And it's not due because of the people that I work with. It's just the filmmaking process. There's been times when I've been frustrated, I've been angry, I've been impatient. And then there are times when I've been overjoyed, fulfilled, and very, very proud. I think it was Ron Howard who said it best. He said that every film that you make will eventually, in the end, break your heart. And I would say that's pretty true with Starship Valiant because it's always been a struggle for funding for the films. And we've had very little funding in terms of making the types of films that I would eventually write. And it got to the point where when I would write a film, I would write it in terms of budget, what we had, what we could afford. And we've only run one fundraiser throughout the entire run of Starship Valiant. And, this last film, Animals, was most certainly funded out of pocket. And there were many things in the script when I wrote it that we had to change because there simply was no funding for it. And ultimately, on the bigger productions, you have a dedicated person for editing, a dedicated person for photography. You have all these positions in filmmaking that a lot of the fully budgeted fan films can't afford to have these people in positions like that. But for Valiant, it's always been, in general, maybe 3 or 4 people at most working on these movies. And I do not fault anybody in the production because my dear friend, Brady Foster, I mean, this guy is just an angel. He's done the photography on the films. He's done the post-production work in terms of special effects. And he's done editing, he's done musical mixing, sound effects. I mean, the guy has worked his ass off. And wow, he's just an amazing person. And he does it out of love for Trek, like we all do. But it's been a long road. And when you have those times when you're not feeling your best, it's oftentimes countered by the people that have dedicated themselves to helping you make this film. And I've had some really great people. I mean, we started out this film in Lawton, Oklahoma at the Wildlife Preserve. Then we went up to Arkansas at Starbase Studios, Arkansas, which it was called back in the day, and shot the bridge stuff. And I received a lot of help from those guys up there. I mean, they not only costumed the additional actors, but they also provided the actors. So, you can't do any better than that. They helped me with sound. And, it was a really good experience. And I was very, very appreciative. I still am very appreciative. We came back to Oklahoma and we shot additional scenes here. And Valiant's productions are basically, whoever we can find to help us out. And oftentimes, we are pretty much the epitome of a fan film because we don't have people in high places in terms of, if someone's doing sound, it's someone that may not really know too much about sound, but they volunteer to give us a hand with it. If someone's doing script supervising, Oftentimes they've never done it, and the job is explained to them in about 5 or 10 minutes. So we've had some really on the fly fans helping us out, and I'm totally fine with that. If I really think about it, what I come to realize is that the people that have helped us out, though they might not be proficient or experts or people that are notable in the jobs that we have them do, I'm very appreciative. I'm really very appreciative, and I'm thankful for what they've been able to help us do on these films. And I'm proud of what they've done to help the films. I really am, because at the end of the day, we couldn't have done it without them. And I would argue that their time, their dedication to help us out on these movies, when they have to get up the next day, we might be up there all night, and they have to get up the next day and go to work, or they might have to go home late night, fix their kids something to eat, or they might have a husband or a wife waiting for them, wondering, what the hell are you doing? You've been gone all day. So, I would argue that that kind of dedication is of much more value than money. And even more so than that, it's a dedication of love for what we're doing. And, I tend to weigh the goodness of people giving and helping us put this film together versus having a big budget. I mean, money's nice. It's always nice. Money, more money does make it easier to do certain things. But at the end of the day, I wouldn't trade $1 million for the people that have been able to help us make these films. The people that, go home and say, look at that, I helped make that. Because there's nothing that makes you feel more better than someone who feels like, they helped make something out of nothing. So, Starship Valiant Animals, how do I feel today? I feel elation. I feel happiness. I feel a lot of pride in the people that helped us bring this film together. Is it a perfect film? No, not by a long shot. There are things that I would have liked to have done different or even better. I would say that when we shot outside, this was a whole new can of worms for us, because we really never done any kind of location shooting. And it would seem like every time we would go to the wildlife preserve, the wind was just blowing like heck. And it was a real challenge. And there were many times when, we're on location. We only have a set amount of time. We have people that are available those days. When we schedule it, they're there those days, and we can't reschedule it, or if we do, it'll be a while. So we have to get done what we need to get done. Sometimes we didn't, sometimes we did, but the wind was hell. The wind was really hard on us. And in some of the delivery of the dialogue, the wind is just beating up a storm, and it does affect some of our audio quality. But, as I've said before, you do the best you can. And we are a fan film in the end. And I wouldn't have it any other way. I wouldn't have it any other way, because at the end of the day, to me anyway, it's not so much, like I said, about the film. It's about the people getting together, enjoying themselves and having fun. It's about the experience. And I think when you forget things like that, that's when fan films are not so much fun. And I got to also say that, when I came in the fan films, there weren't any CBS guidelines, and you were pretty much free to make the types of films that you wanted to. And there were productions out there that had multi-$1,000 budgeted productions. I mean, really professional looking films. And those films were great. The production values were great. But I think, at the end of the day, when all that came to an end, it really, it put the fans in a position where they were kind of spoiled. They kind of expected big budgeted films. And I think for us little guys, it kind of, maybe it kind of marred us just a little bit, where, it was kind of hard for the smaller films to keep up. And maybe some thought, if you're not a big budgeted film, you're not given the attention that some of the bigger films are given. But, just because, they had bigger budgets, it doesn't mean their hearts and passion were any bigger than, us that make the smaller films. And, I started out in fan films with Starship Exeter, and I totally loved Exeter. The Savage Empire, that was one of my favorite fan films. It was one that I discovered, and I totally adored it, loved it. The Tressarian episode was just like totally excellent. I loved that episode. And then there was James Cawley's Star Trek Phase 2, which was a great show. Star Trek Continues, another great show. But then I have favorites that I love. The Potemkin films were exceptionally well written. And George Kayadin's show, excellent. Hidden Frontier, all those shows. And if I didn't mention some, it's not because I'm not thinking of you. It's because my memory's shit. But there's a lot of great Star Trek fan films out there, and I'm pretty much a fan of them all. I found enjoyment in them all, and I just hope that at the end of the day, you're making your films because you love not only the filmmaking process, but you love getting together with the people that make these films, and you have a good time, because that's why I make them. That's why I make them. And if I can make a film that, entertains people to any degree, then that's icing on the cake. But yeah, guys, Animals, it's done. It's over with. I'm glad that we've gotten to this point. I'm glad that we're able to share it with everybody. And it was a really great 3 years. Even with the downs, there were always ups, and it was a great time, and I'll remember it all my life.